But the screen went weird.
How weird?
Well, weird.
What does weird mean?
It was like it went literally. Now the cube's smaller.
Ah.
No.
Don't come out near here. You're not allowed sweets. But you're not allowed in here. I'm going to lock the door from the inside in a minute. Reese, in my bag, which is on the sofa, is the iPad. Stick your head in and find that.
Yeah, but it's still my turn.
Anybody on the live stream, do say hello. Would love to know what the takeaway is on the audio because we've moved the mics onto the webcam. So that would be really lovely. Thank you. Got 4 people on the live stream now. Right. Yeah, lock it. Lovely, jubbly.
Would they be all right?
Yeah. Well, if they're desperate, then I'm sure they'll let us know. Right, I've deleted the other one, and we're ready. Hello, better audio. That's good to know, Luke. Thank you for that. Sounds a lot better. So the mic is now on that camera over there.
Hold on.
Yeah. Oh, you're testing it yourself?
No.
Then?
I'm doing work.
Oh, you're sharing it. James is letting the whole of the Twitterverse know that we are live.
No, I'm really not.
Oh.
Just my Sky mates.
Oh. Merry Christmas, Phil, to you as well. Right, we're going to try again this time.
Audio's on, yeah?
With the red light. Keep an eye on that red light. If it goes out, we're fine.
Let's rock.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet Sky FF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Such.
I'm glad you're not going to do the whole podcast at 100 mile an hour. My name is James.
It is Christmas Eve. Hello to the people on the live stream on YouTube. If you are listening to the audio and you fancy jumping back on to YouTube to see what we look like, then you're more than welcome to. Good news, James.
Why would anyone want to do that?
I don't know, because I've got a new hat on, maybe. I have good news.
Go on in.
Man-child landed this morning from America.
He's
safe.
Back. He's alive.
He's alive, and he's just recovering. But then we don't need to live stream anymore because we can actually get the camera working again.
So proper videos will resume shortly.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen the state of Man-child since he's come back from New York, but hopefully it should be all right. Sky Fantasy Football, we are in the middle of a game week, but there's still individual match days, which we talked about previously, treating them as individual days. We have a game day on Boxing Day with everybody except Manchester City and Wolves, right?
Correct.
Playing. So you should be stacking your team up, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to try and sneak off players onto City or Wolves players from the Thursday to the Friday. But how was your game week?
Well, that's dependent, isn't it? Because as I learned on Saturday, sometimes your plans can change. You can sit there and have your spreadsheets and your transfer planner and all that. And if one of your assets gets injured, long your team if you haven't already.
Yeah.
So I was pretty set that I was going to Aubameyang to Kane on Sunday.
Yep.
Now, the McGinn injury meant I had to have a rethink. And one of the reasons I rethought was because there was nobody really in that value that I wanted. Everything was a little bit more.
Yeah.
So on reflection, what I decided to do was get Dele Alli in. I had 0.1 enough to go straight from McGinn to Dele Alli.
Mm-hmm.
It then meant, though, that I couldn't go to Kane, but I could still get Son. So I went Aubameyang to Son as well.
Oh, painful, because we spoke about Son versus Kane. Who's the better asset for Sky previously? You went with Son. I couldn't argue with one or the other.
I was going to go Kane, mate.
I went with Kane, and I'm captaining him on Boxing Day, and I'm glad I went with Kane. I mean, it's you just can't predict that stuff, can you?
No, I don't think the way I looked at it going into it, because I did nearly not do it at all. I thought, should I just leave Aubameyang Boxing Day? Gives me possibly a captaincy cover when they play Chelsea next Sunday. And I came to the conclusion that I had to take the gamble and go and get Son in. There will be people, no doubt, listening to this or watching this who got Son this game week And also the game we played Everton and suffered red cards in both. I'm absolutely certain. And on both occasions, you ain't done wrong.
No.
It's just one of those things, unfortunately. It has been confirmed in the last half hour that Spurs have lost the appeal.
Okay.
That's clarified. So he will be suspended immediately for the Brighton game, and then obviously Norwich and Southampton as well. Sell. Now, I can't get from sun to game.
You ended last game week on 59 points. So what's your overall rank now?
I am up to 4,000
and something.
846.
Okay, not bad. And total points?
1,363, which still leaves me about 250 off first.
It's not that much.
But I think now, like, well on course towards a top 1K finish with 28 transfers still left as well.
I had a flat game week. I'm still 21,000. I'm on 1,277 points. I'm 90 points behind you. With 2 captaincy blanks in Aubameyang and Rashford, it was just literally tier points, shot tier 1 points. I suppose I've got to take that, right? Really, 44 points isn't great. But then I had blanks all around. My defence, Kelly, -1 from Söyüncü, Ederson 2-pointer, Maddison 2-pointer, Ali 1-pointer, Kane 2-pointer, Mount 1-pointer. Bad week. The only returns I had were Baldock and De Bruyne, and that was it. So from that, I think we just move on. The blessing in that, I don't even know if it's a blessing, but I'm calling it a blessing, was I didn't burn any transfers on the 2 days.
How many got left?
28 or 29?
Oh,
29. 29.
You made about 4 moves the other week, didn't you?
Yeah. The previous week I made 4. So I'm now going into Boxing Day. All set and ready to rock and roll.
My game week came out all right for a couple of reasons. Number one, I made the best of the captaincy options, actually, with De Bruyne on Saturday. And of those that were mentioned, Marcus Rashford had a shot here in the game against Watford. So she proved to be the best choice Sunday, unless there's any nutters out there who Captain William. And
there is 1 or 2.
I'm sure there will be.
Do you remember? I know it's an FPL related. Someone tweeted the FPL account, said, "Who triple captained Ismail Sarr?"
I bet someone
and
did.
They replied back and they said actually 0 people captained him. Triple captained him, but 76 people captained Ismail Sarr.
People are on jokes, honestly.
76 people.
Yeah, he's pricing this actually. I think 6.4. Ismail Sarr. I mean, he's one. You know, if you're looking for McGinn replacements, might fall into that category with this new manager bounce. It looked like they might have Watford.
I don't know.
Dean Henderson's 9-pointer was a touch for me.
He didn't get the assist.
Didn't get the assist like he did in FPL, but I can't complain at that because especially those of us who do own him got the penalty points last week. So
yeah,
you win some, you lose some. Passing tier again for Lewis Dunk, which I'm really pleased with. However, had I cut the corner and gone Dan Burn instead of Lewis Dunk when Brighton played Crystal Palace, I would be in a much better position right now financially. And in hindsight, it probably wasn't worth the extra, although it is probably going to get me little extras on points, although Burns doing all right from a tackle perspective as well.
Yeah, as our friend Dan Cox said when we had him on the show, if you make a mistake, sod it, move on, and don't worry about it.
No regrets. Right? It's like this with Son. You can't look back on your decision making to get Son. Look at it as a mistake.
No.
Although I disagreed with many, the majority of people thought that Spurs would beat Chelsea on Sunday. So you followed that trend. You've done the right thing really by going the extra games. I think so many people came off Aubameyang.
Yeah.
I think that the performance at Everton was, if there was any doubts, was final nail in the coffin. You know he's going to have a run now. New manager bounce.
Exactly. I'm not selling him before Boxing Day.
Well, on reflection with Aubameyang, I said last week I suspected he'd probably get rotated for the Bournemouth game. But being that it's now going to be Arteta's first, he probably won't. Although
strong.
I think he might play in a wide position. Make of that what you will.
I'm not going to read anything into Arteta's formation or the way he... I'm not going to try and predict, put it that way, about anything from that point of view. I've got... my front line at the moment is Kane, Aubameyang, Rashford. By New Year's Day, I want it to be Vardy, Aguero, Mane. So I've got 3 transfers earmarked for my front 3, but it may end up being Vardy, Kane, and Mane. Vardy and Mane are coming back in, and Kane or or Sterling or Aguero is going to
So,
be the other.
so on that, are you therefore thinking you got Aubameyang Boxing Day now? Are you waiting on the City team Friday night and then making the move right there?
No, actually, originally it would have been. I'm waiting on seeing how Aubameyang plays and how Arsenal respond under Arteta. Because a fit and firing, motivated Aubameyang is you never know. This is kind of, I made a 5 or 6 game week plan, and this is now the last 2 or 3 weeks, which I'd looked at 4 weeks ago. So now it's actually irrelevant, and I haven't plotted out my February fixtures yet, and I don't know if I will even bother because we have the overhaul right at the end of January.
My thinking right now is I obviously need to sort out my son problem, as so many will. My immediate thoughts is once I've fixed that problem, I might not be making any more between now and overhaul, subject to further injuries, suspensions, whatever.
Which means you are not going back on any Liverpool assets.
Yeah, of course I am.
Oh, okay.
You take me for a complete idiot or just an idiot?
But you said you're not going to make any more changes.
Well, I've got to sort out the son problem.
Oh, okay, so it's the son to Mane or whoever it may be.
I've got 2 options in mind. The first instinct was I do have enough to get to Mane. I've got 1.3 in the bank. So as I said, leaves me just short of Kane without making another move. Of course, I could downgrade that Lewis Dunk or Wan-Bissaka and get him in. I'm not sure I want to fudge it with it though. Brighton's fixtures are okay for the month. United, I mean, it's indifferent looking at the fixtures, but I still think like when United have to defend in games, he's still going to be picking up these tackle bonuses. It would help if their goalkeeper could catch a ball, would be useful. My God, there's so many bad goalkeepers in the league at the moment on form.
Yeah.
So the obvious is just go Son to Mane. I'm not going to make 2 transfers to get Kane in. That's what I've already decided. Son to Mane would be obvious. I think I'm going to take a different route on this, and I'll explain why. I think I'm going to go Son to Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might captain Abraham on Boxing Day. If I do that, I think Chelsea's January is better than it looks on paper. He is joint for tier 2 shots with Rashford, Vardy, and therefore I'll have the 3 of them together.
Someone put the bookies odds out on anytime goal scorers, and Abraham's top of the tree for who is likely to score on good old.
I just think
day,
this fixture with Southampton was always one we'd looked at for a while and gone, possible rotation there. But it's then another 4 days till Arsenal, and 3 days till Arsenal, but a 4-day break from the Tottenham game. On reflection, they played so well on Sunday that for him to go and make 5-6 changes, it just doesn't seem likely.
I don't think you'll make 5 or 6.
Kovacic is suspended, so we know there'll definitely be one there with Jorginho. He may well fudge the system back to a back 4 and then sort of bring Pulisic back in. He really praised Mason Mount's performance. I thought Mason Mount was excellent on Sunday, if not as a fantasy asset from that perspective. So I don't see mass changes for Chelsea. And he's got no confidence in Batshuayi and Giroud. So I think Abraham plays again. And I might just captain him at home to Southampton, who we know are probably better away from home, but they're very hit and miss.
But then that does mean no Liverpool coverage, or are you going to get a defender in?
Yeah. So we go Abraham, and then leave Dunk or Wan-Bissaka. Gives me time to make a choice between which one of those 2 I've been off. And I'll bin them off on Sunday. Liverpool play on Sunday, Brighton and Man United both play on Saturday. And I will go to Van Dijk. And the reason I favour going Van Dijk rather than the obvious to Mane is twofold reasons. One, other than the single game day that they have, which I think is Wolves away, is the only... Oh, sorry, Sheffield United at home as well. Sheffield United at home and Wolves away. They're the only you're definitely going to captain a Liverpool asset. Yes, you can go Mane in those. But on reflection, favouring those 2 fixtures, I really fancy Van Dijk. I'll go into that in a minute. In the other game days where they share fixtures with other, I don't see me going in on Liverpool. So from that basis, I've decided I want to go Van Dijk first. Sheffield United, we know, will... in that sort of fixture, go a little bit deeper. go with a flatter back 5 and a midfield 3. They'll still play the 2 up front. Liverpool are going to have a lot of ball. They play Wolves twice in the next month. One is a single game day, which is later in the month. Absolute certainty that it will hit tier points for passing in those 2 fixtures against Wolves. I think he will against Sheffield United. So from that perspective, that's 3 possible captaincies for me there with Van Dijk. And I don't think I'll be starting on 2. I think I'll be starting on 5. And then if there's a clean sheet with it as well. Now, of course, Mane can haul in these games. Of course he can. But the one thing we praise Wolves and Sheffield United for is, all right, defensively, aren't they?
Yeah.
And, you know, they'll be happy to counter-attack in those fixtures. So that's why immediately for me, in my scenario, I would favour Van Dijk. I'm certainly not forcing that in for Boxing Day. Make Abraham move first. Give me further time to assess Duncan, Wan-Bissaka. And then I've got enough then to come back up to Van Dijk.
Good to hear your kind of sort of transfer plans. For me, I'm sticking and I'm just playing around with my front line at the moment. But I may, if I think that Aubameyang's in form and Kane is on form, then I may not move it around, because I actually think from an ownership point of view, Kane is still relatively low. Top 1K teams, 34%. That's not that high, is it really? And Aubameyang, Kane.
Well, currently, I'll do a bit on this later, but his template just about falls into the template.
Well, what's your percentage for template then?
Well, I can tell you a template team at the moment now. If you want, there was a question on it later, so I thought I'd hold it back.
Aubameyang's at 21%, so there's quite a big difference between the 2.
Yeah.
Rashford in the top 1,000, 59%. That is very, very, very high. And I'm assuming that's to give the captaincy coverage for so many.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very tricky. Should we do some of these Twitter questions then? Because we've had a lot in.
Before we do, I think we should have a run through what's coming up, just because obviously we won't record again till sort of the 8th of January or something. Just run through the game days and look at best captaincy options for each, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Just have a little brief look at January and February as well. So what's your plan for Boxing Day captain?
My Boxing Day captain is Harry Kane.
Okay. I can't really argue that. For me, it's a choice between, if I go Abraham or Rashford. If I don't go Abraham, it'll definitely be Rashford. The way I've done mine as well, if I go that Abraham Van Dijk route, it gives me...
We need to tell the YouTubers I've got a kid out there who's rattling. So you tell them what you're doing on captain, and I'm going to get rid of it. Not
this is what we record on Christmas Eve, right?
Yeah.
I've got Van Dijk, so Liverpool coverage, Ali with Spurs, I've got De Bruyne, City, I've got Abraham, Chelsea, Vardy, Leicester. Essentially, I've got something to cover all those big clubs, and with Henderson in goal, I've got coverage for that single game day, the annoying one, the Friday night fixture against West Ham. And I think with the fixtures Sheffield United have got coming up, bearing in mind I've got obviously a Liverpool away and a Man City away coming up during this period, even though they've got Watford on Boxing Day, it doesn't feel right to go to them now. That's why I think it was better to go and get a Henderson or a Baldock or a Stevens or whatever further back. I think it'll be interesting to see. There's a few teams I see knocking about sort of Baldock and Stevens. Be interesting to see if people hold through too for those Man City and Liverpool away games that are coming up consecutively for them.
It's interesting. I've marked him as red for those 2. Baldock has
leave him on the bench. Wrong game, mate.
as a maybe transfer at the moment.
But then that wouldn't leave you the Friday night captain, would you? Suffer it, mate.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Baldock.
Suffer it.
Yeah. Before I go into trouble, you asked me Boxing Day Harry Kane.
Yeah, Boxing Day Harry Kane. So then we move on to Wolves City Friday night. I take it nearly everyone's on De Bruyne, don't they?
Yes. I've also got a provisional there where I had a couple of weeks ago looked at selling Aubameyang for Sterling or Aguero, but I don't think that's a transfer worth making. I can just stick it on Kevin De Bruyne.
If I was in a position where one of my forwards got injured again, I think I'd look to fire in City here.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Otamendi absolutely killing it on the passing tiers when he's playing, but the second you fire him in,
red card or something dumb like that.
Stones is fit again now, so I just think stay away from it personally. Yeah. It's just not worth it.
No.
So moving on to the weekend fixtures, Saturday 28th. I don't think there's easy choices here either. So Standouts would be Spurs are at Norwich, Leicester at West Ham, Rashford is at Burnley.
I have it on Jamie Vardy at the moment.
I will almost definitely go Rashford on the Saturday night because, as I've said frequently on other podcasts, I do think Vardy will be left out at West Ham.
I also agree with you on that. Based on
You think he'll kill you in 20 minutes?
Brendan Rodgers said in a press conference that he was going to rest Vardy in one of the upcoming games. Now, would you rest him against West Ham or Liverpool? Obviously against West Ham, right?
It's that quick turnaround, 8 o'clock Thursday night to 5:30 Saturday.
So this was set on Vardy a long time ago. But yeah, I'm with you. If
they can beat you without him. It's reality.
Yeah. So yeah, more than likely Rashford, unless Vardy gets dropped against Liverpool, in which case it will be Vardy.
Vardy's not going to not play against Liverpool.
Yeah, stranger things have happened.
We're not saying that Vardy can't play both, and of course, it doesn't mean that Rashford will play both.
Yeah.
Either. I just think physically wise, fitness wise, the lack of backtracking from the forward players defensively for United means they're saving energy a little bit better as well. Remember what I talked about on the main podcast on Monday about Vardy and how he's constantly working to find the right positions even without the ball. Yeah. So that's the safer bet. The best captaincy option on Saturday is Harry Kane, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He'll play against Norwich.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to overthink it. Whereas there's doubts on sort of Vardy, Rashford. I think I would gamble Rashford out to 2. It's just an opinion.
Yeah.
Sunday's not easy. Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Wolves, City, Sheffield United.
I have it on Sadio Mane at the moment with a view that I'm bringing him back in.
I would go, and I do this in order here. If for some reason De Bruyne doesn't play at Wolves, I would go De Bruyne.
Yeah.
I think I'd go Van Dijk ahead of Abraham if I go down that route. I think Aubameyang's optional here, by the way. It's going to be
I was going to suggest
first home game under the new manager.
Yeah, and Arsenal's home record generally is decent if you look at a slightly longer period than maybe just the last couple of months. But Arsenal's home record has been...
When was the last time they won at home?
Arsenal's home record is generally good. If they can get that...
But it's not at the moment, is it? They haven't won at home for 2+ months, mate.
Yeah, I take that on board. But I think with the new manager coming in and stuff, it's their home record that's really going to help them climb up the table if they're serious about top 4. So if I still own Aubameyang on that day, I may put it on Aubameyang.
The benefit of obviously the Arsenal-Chelsea game on that particular day is it is the earlier kickoff.
Yeah, so you'll know the team before
We'll know the team. So it could mean for me, if there's something I see tactically, like to be honest, if Chelsea lined up similar
3 at the back
to what they did at Spurs, I would bring Mason Mount into consideration because I think the running he would get off of the Arsenal midfield, he would get into better positioning, or let's put it this way, a more threatening position than what he did against Tottenham last Sunday. But that's a really difficult call Sunday. I think stand out, you go Salah or Mane probably if you've got. I think it's a home fixture. Then we've got going on to New Year's Day. 3 standouts or 4 standouts. You could argue against perhaps Chelsea at Brighton, Vardy at Newcastle, Kane at Southampton, City at home to Everton.
I have it on Vardy.
The benefit here again of Chelsea, if you went down that Abraham route, again it's the early game. It's the 12:30. Get to know the team.
Remind me your Spurs game on that day.
Southampton away.
Yeah, Vardy at Newcastle, but Newcastle are going to sit deep. So he's not going to have the space to run in behind.
Yes, true.
See, there's 2 games here. The game on the Saturday and the game on the Wednesday where I had provisionally earmarked captaining Vardy. On paper, the reality is Harry Kane has better fixtures on both days. Maybe not the West Ham one. Sorry, the West Ham fixture for Vardy, there's risk of rotation. But over the 2, so looking at it, maybe selling Harry Kane is going to be a bad move.
You can't sell Harry Kane. I've told you this. You can't sell him. If you want to go Kane to Mane, do it on the 2nd, mate. After that game,
it's more Rashford to Mane that I'm going to go because I've got the money. So maybe a Kane, Aubameyang, Mane up front, and then I'll have to go without Vardy. This is the tricky situation.
Yeah, you could go. Obviously, United play at Arsenal on New Year's Day. You could obviously go Rashford to Mane on Sunday, for example.
The way I look at it, in those 2 or 3 games, if I'm not captaining Jamie Vardy, then there's no point in bringing him in. If I am then going to captain Harry Kane.
The thing with Kane is, and as I've seen people ramming at me, not particularly at me, over the last 48 hours or so since the Chelsea game, is statistically, in terms of efforts on goal, etc., threat, touches in the box, everything. Nothing has improved for Harry Kane under Mourinho to what it was in the first few months of the season under Pochettino. The going for Harry Kane here is blind faith on historical and looking at the fixtures. And I actually also think, importantly, the fact that not so much the Boxing Day game, obviously it's at home, but I really do favour those two away fixtures. And actually, I think probably just about Kane at Southampton over Vardy at Newcastle is the better choice.
I agree.
But there's nothing on the eye, on the numbers, or anything that can hold up that opinion. It's almost a judgment on Southampton and Norwich.
There's one other element that I'll chuck in as well, which we spoke about, and you talked about template very briefly. A lot of the top 1K or what have you are going to be captaining Harry Kane if the ownership is that high on those days.
Well, I'm gambling to go against my boy.
Yeah, of course, we can't afford him. Tough.
Well, of course I can.
If you make 2 moves, you don't think it's worth it.
I don't.
There's coverage elsewhere that any of the likes of Abraham, Rashford, Aubameyang, Mane will all return over that period. It's just a case of
I think that's the other thing about not trying to force it so much is it's the Abraham allowing me then an extra Chelsea attacking coverage for fixtures that I now like, having seen them at the weekend. Also, he impressed me. I said on our main pod Monday, he's a better player than I thought he was. I know he didn't have many chances in the game. And for Sky, like I said, he's the one who's joint on shots here bonus with Rashford and Vardy, and that's going to be my 3 up front.
Yeah, that's 6 game days between now and next week, Thursday. On the Thursday, Liverpool, Sheffield United, I'm assuming Mane.
For me, it would be Van Dijk. I mean, best choice is Mane, Salah, whatever your
attacking
preference.
options that you have, but it's not too bad to go with the defensive ones either.
It's safer to go Mane at the moment.
Of course.
We'll cover this a little bit just because of the ownership, mate. But then Salah offers you that incredible differential at the moment.
And then we have a bit of time off because of the FA Cup. And by then we'll be back with our mic in our hand recording.
So just a couple of things further-wise on fixtures. So, I mean, following that, just single game days considered. Obviously, Sheffield United against West Ham on Friday the 10th of January.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're not on now, it is worth taking the gamble for the Liverpool fixtures. The Liverpool fixture when they go there on January the 2nd, because Sheffield United essentially play 2 games and you've got 17 other teams who won't play at all during those 2 games.
Yeah.
So there's an argument even to dive on and off. I think because the first one's Liverpool, I'd be happy with my Henderson coverage. That will do me. Locked in captain for that Friday game.
Maybe pick up some save,
and then forget about
save points and then job done.
You're going to want some Man City coverage for Sunday the 12th if you don't, but I think we've all got De Bruyne, and I think everybody's, if they're not, are obviously considering City coverage for this Friday night, I should imagine. Following that, I think you're still going to want to hold Vardy because of the Leicester fixture at Burnley on Sunday the 19th.
I mean, if you own Mane or anyone from Liverpool, United are real hit and miss, right? And it is at Anfield.
But they're in these games, aren't they?
Who, United?
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't come up against Liverpool.
Statistically proven. If you do end up on Vardy, Kane and Rashford as a trio, bear in mind that on Wednesday, January the 22nd, they all play together at the same time. The night before, Tuesday the 21st, Chelsea play Arsenal, Man City are at Sheffield United. So you'll have some coverage there, I should imagine. And then Liverpool play at Wolves on Thursday the 23rd. Then that takes us into Overhaul. On Overhaul, no announcement yet on West Ham Liverpool. I suspect now it probably won't be January. I think it will be going into February. Or March.
Yeah.
Or if they go out the cup early, the pair of them, which West Ham are away to Gillingham, so they well could go out early.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Then I think it'll end up later in the season.
Yeah, we shall see.
To be confirmed. Now, just briefly, because obviously the February fixtures were announced. The 1st and the 2nd of February don't really give us too many problems. You've got like Liverpool and Southampton on the 1st. And then you've got Arsenal at Burnley on the 2nd, Spurs against Man City on the 2nd as well. You'll have some coverage. Now, the following 2 weeks, if you will, is 1 game week, although it will follow into 2 game weeks in Sky,
Yeah.
is the split fixtures match day, if you will. Every TV game is being televised live. So just notes here, and obviously this is going to be in your overall time.
What do you mean by that? Because
So all 10,
every TV game is live.
all 10 fixtures have been split over 2 weekends.
Right, okay, so every game
and
is
every
every game is
single
on
one
TV. Yeah.
is on the telly. So just things to think about overhaul, what you might want here. So Saturday the 8th is the first one. You've got Everton against Palace at lunchtime, Brighton against Watford in the evening.
You'll probably still own Zaha around there.
So we're all going Gator in goal. The following day is Sheffield United against Bournemouth, Man City against West Ham. And do you know what this makes me think, this sort of thing? So that Sunday the 9th, you've got City against West Ham, Sheffield United against Bournemouth. Almost look at that and go, do I want Sheffield United, Bournemouth, West Ham players in my overhaul? You can make a case for Sheffield United defensively, obviously, but you'll certainly want some Man City coverage.
Yeah.
Friday the 14th, Wolves, Leicester. It's the sort of thing that's going to lead you back into Vardy on your overhaul again, I think. Saturday the 15th, you can write off Southampton and Burnley for your overhaul because Liverpool play away to Norwich on the same day. Sunday the 16th, you're looking at Spurs or Arsenal assets. Spurs are at Villa, Arsenal into Newcastle. And then Monday the 17th, Chelsea at home to Manchester United. Now, further on than that, you're going to have coverage from whatever you decide to do based on that for a little while longer. Just a note, and it's obviously a while away, but the Friday the 28th weekend, Leicester have been scheduled to play away to Norwich on the Friday night. Now, by overall time, we'll know if that game's on or not, because it is obviously League Cup final weekend. Leicester play Villa in the semi-final, so there's every chance that they will make it. But the overhaul decisions, sort of your more budget options, are going to fall in line quite a lot with how they've split that weekend. And it's going to be, we'll look at it nearer the time in terms of what do? Do you gamble a lot on the guys are playing in the first game week and then move off quite a few to go towards the second game week? We'll look at that nearer the time. But it's,
I think the planning would be, of your 11, 5 or 6 are going to be players you're going to want to hold through anyway, because they're going to be from from City and Liverpool and what have you. Another 5 might be potentially players that you want to bring in for the first 5 games, are happy to burn 5 transfers to get rid of for the second 5 games, but then from the second 5 games, you're picking players that you're happy to hold through. So something around about between 5 and 8 transfers over the course of February could actually serve particularly well, because you can overhaul into the first 5 fixtures, use 5 to transfer out, and then maybe another 2 or 3 to really put you in a good position.
The first way they split it actually is that there's 4 fixtures on that first weekend, 6 on the second. They said they'd do it as 5 and 5, didn't they? They haven't. It's actually 6 on the second weekend. So there's surely a temptation to load up quite heavily on Manchester City, potentially from the overhaul, and then come off. The problem with that is the following week after that split weekend, they play on the Saturday. So there's not huge games. If they'd have been playing on the Sunday, you can go, dive off and I'll get 2 of someone else.
And come back again.
A little bit. So don't think there'll be as much ducking and diving as we possibly expected. They're the only real big name playing on that first weekend. So it'd be interesting how people go about managing it.
I can see myself doing that. I mean, look, the Sheffield United Bournemouth game, Sheffield United, you think will do well. Everton might be in a completely different position because of Carlo Ancelotti.
Bet quite a lot, or because of that fixture, will overhaul Richarlison.
Yeah, and then you've got Brighton at home to Watford.
You could just go burn, couldn't you? It's like your 11th player, and then that'll do.
Yeah.
No nearer the time. That to be honest, that's my initial thinking. Is that's probably nearer what I'll be heading towards.
I think now it's going to be now lets you start planning, because the prices don't go up and don't go down.
Correct.
Shall we have a look at some of these Twitter questions?
Let's do that.
I had a read of a couple, but not all. There's not tons, actually, to be honest with you.
I suppose there were.
Well, relatively to Sky, but nothing compared to FPL. Also, you're using the Sky, the FPL fixtures there for those that are on the old YouTube.
Yeah.
Come on, man, that's not going to help our Sky sponsorship.
I don't like how they set these. It's not difficult to navigate, but on the early ones, because they put all the betting odds up, It's difficult for me to see on
noisy,
one
isn't it?
screen.
It's very
Yeah.
hard to see. Ticker
It's
coming
difficult for me to
across,
see on one screen what all the fixtures are for
Yeah.
the next game week, for example.
It is. I'm only playing.
Sort it
chess.
out, Sky Bet.
Yeah, give us a ring. We'll read it on it for
Stop offering what you do. You know, gambling.
you. So Rob Pick at rpick86.
We're only joking. We really do want that sponsorship.
We do. And all of our listeners are degenerate gamblers who will bet, because that's what you're really after, Sky. We know. Rob Pick at rpick86, worth a follow. If transferring Son out, would you prioritise Liverpool defence or Liverpool attack, as in VVD or Mane or Salah? Now, you've spoken about what you're doing in terms of VVD. I don't own Son. This the issue with Sky is that you only have 3 attacking striker spots, and there's probably at least 8 that you want to get in there, which is why if you can't juggle around and you end up going defence VVD or Trent, it's not actually such a bad thing.
Well, the same price, aren't they? Son VVD.
Yeah,
It's exactly the same price.
yeah. So I'm not. I think you've got to really think about your captaincy options here.
Yeah, and I think you've got to think in longer. What are you then doing? Are you 4-4-2, and how are you getting back to that front 3?
Yeah,
That's the key. I mean, I almost regret going for Addy now, but I'm not going to then waste that to change that one as well. So, and he does, if I just stick with him, he does give me Spurs coverage if you want. I might get to Saturday and see he plays really high against Brighton, and I might take a chance on him captaincy against Norwich, for example.
yeah.
So I'm happy to keep that coverage, if you will. It's situational, but if it's just a case of like, I'm going to VVD, but I'm prioritising the fixing the forward issue first. And if you're asking me, you know, this game week, then Abraham is for an amazing price. And I think we've completely overlooked him because he's so cheap. And one of the arguments always is, well, if something goes, how are you getting back up off him? Because even your people like Danny Ings, etc., they're a lot more expensive than Abraham.
Danny
right?
Ings is 9 million.
So it allows you different things. My thoughts right now, and it's probably a bit boring, is if I get Abraham and VVD in, I've got a little coverage of everything I need, and I might well just run through.
Yeah.
Honestly, and unless something, I'm sure something will come up. And then I'll go into the real power of manoeuvring these fixtures in the second half of the season. One thing that will obviously change that for me is if Liverpool do end up with that double game week, then around that overhaul and whatever they'll do with that, then that's a complete change of situation then.
Plans for the Sheffield United West Ham match. I have Baldock, who I bought about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he'll be my captain. You have Henderson, and he's going to be your captain. How many sorry, are we going to add anything to that? Because I thought we'd already covered it.
No, not really. All I was going to say is
It's
the only one without so-called big 7 that you need to worry about between now and the overhaul. So I think like the keeper's the really sensible choice now. The fixtures are stiffening. We do have a tough run of fixtures as well. It's worth saying. I think Antonio does offer an alternative, but I wouldn't fancy him.
Not yet.
I wouldn't fancy him that night either. And that's the thing.
Yeah, not yet. I think Sheffield United players. Well, I've got a FPL. When I've got my FPL hat on, which is not this hat, I think tripling up on Sheffield United is a real option, and they're set and forget here almost because of the defensive clean sheets and that. So a Baldock or an Egan or whatever is decent value in this. How many transfers are you using between now and overhaul provisionally in your mind right now?
2.
I think I'll be using 4, something like 3 or 4 between now and overhaul. And that'll leave me with
But I think
25.
if you ask the experts, they'll be saying a lot more.
And then between the overhaul and the end of February, I reckon another 8, and that will leave me about 14 or 15 to run through March, April, May, which is plenty in my opinion. And when we get to the overhaul, what do you want your overall rank to be?
Well, I'm well pleased with the jump the last couple of weeks so far. I think because of the rotation and knowing this is going to bite a little bit over Christmas, if I can come out the Christmas period and stay top 5K, I'll be quite happy with that actually short term. And then, you know, if I can push inside, even just pushing the top 4,000 or so for the overhaul, I know I'm going to have an advantage at the end.
I need to get into the top 10K, Dan. Did I say that question was from Dan?
Which one?
All 3 of these.
Which Dan?
Oh, sorry. At Dan9FF. as
Hello,
opposed to
Dan.
Dan Cox.
That's why I said which
really
Dan.
good. Yeah, my apologies. It should be clearer. I want to get inside the top 10K first and foremost, and so if I do that by the end of Overhaul, then I'll be happy with that, and then we can build on from there. We've spoken about Rob's question. Heskibo, who is obviously going to win the whole of Sky FF, and then he's investing in that business opportunity that is becoming more and more lucrative by the week.
Remains top of the Planet FPL mini league.
Well,
and he's a step closer to that podcast appearance in May or June or whenever it's offered.
Yep.
If we're still going.
We'll be going. How will you be approaching bringing Liverpool assets back? James has spoken about his strategy. For me, it's Sadio Mane and Trent. And yeah, I think Trent I've earmarked for, I'll tell you exactly when, the Sunday.
The Wolves
Sunday
game?
for you. Yeah, was it the 30th? No,
You
29th.
do lose your dates this time.
28th.
29th.
29th. That's when I'm planning on bringing Trent back in, and also Mane will be that day as well.
So who's going for those two?
Dele Alli and Rashford at the moment.
Okay. How many midfielders you got?
4 at the moment.
Oh, okay. Fair.
Mount, Maddison, Ali, and KDB. But that is subject to change
It's a
because
pretty
there was
good
some
midfield,
injuries.
actually,
Yeah, it's
mate.
not too bad. Mark Dorney. Mark, how are you? Hope you're well. After your first half season, do you think your game is best suited to FPL or Sky?
This one.
If you could play only one game next season, which would you pick?
That's brutal. I've got to say FPL because that's the money maker.
I would play Sky. Like, if all things being equal, no podcast, no nothing. You just have enough time in your life for one. Excuse me. Another kid arrives. James has got 2 to juggle.
I think I plan more for FPL than Sky. And a lot of people go, oh, surely there's more planned in the fixtures for Sky. But I've said this before, my daily decisions are very much FPL based. I've got to be aware of things like the price changes, etc. You know, I can sit down every Friday and look at Sky and forget about it for days. And actually, in terms of brain management, it's easier for that as well. You haven't got to worry about the external factors like 500,000 people decided to buy Almiron this week because he scored a goal. Or
Is that the actual number?
No, obviously not. You know what I'm saying.
I'm going to check what the actual number is.
Daft people do daft things, right? Obviously, look, no interest in Almiron for either game. But you have to be aware of the external factors on a more daily basis.
Yeah.
And so I really do give FPL my headspace. But then once I've made my decision, and you know me, I'm not one to change my mind last minute very often, then I'll plan at Sky. And I think naturally for me, I know most of the fixtures in my head anyway. I don't need to keep referring back to it over and over.
Yeah.
I know all the guys, a lot of the experts will obviously keep spreadsheets and whatnot. And that's absolutely, to be honest, it's the way you should go. But you still need to do your thinking on your feet when Son gets suspended or McGinn's out for 3 months. Because a lot of people had held John McGinn for this.
Yeah. For
Southampton at the weekend, Norwich on Boxing Day, Watford on the Sunday, with then the mind to come off from there, most likely.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was a really disappointing one with John McGinn. I think if you have the money for Grealish, it's probably a decent move.
Right.
I was in a rare case where I'd left the money aside and could go straight to Ali. I thought the one thing for me I felt about that, and it was a gamble, I would get into a position that not a lot of others could, because they wouldn't have, like that move McGinn to Ali, wasn't going to be too many people making that move. So I thought it might give me an edge. Didn't work out.
Yet.
No sleep lost.
Mm.
I mean, in hindsight, I wouldn't have done it. I'd have just waited. But the right thing to do, if you can take advantage of the extra games, especially a home game, just get it done, isn't it?
Move. Yeah. James Wood, James A. Wood, _A_Wood on Twitter says, which players are we overlooking in Sky because we have our FPL heads on? And also, what's a differential 11 that can take on the current template? Is this the question that you referred to earlier?
Yeah.
So the ultimate answer to the first question, which are we overlooking, is all about the tier points, isn't it, really? The ones that keep ticking along and picking up 2s and 3s and tier points that don't necessarily always return in FPL. I mean, how high was Charlison is on the scoring in Sky?
Because of the lack of movement in pricing, etc. There are a lot less players that we're all looking at. I mean, I'm going to go through some ownership numbers with you now, which will make you realise just how template a lot of this is right now. So I'm just going to pick out essentially the 11 most owned team, if you will. So, and I've taken these.
Is this affordable?
No, but very close.
Okay, fine. So a couple of players swaps.
Yeah. So I've taken the ownership numbers based on the ownership in the top 1,000 rather than the overall. Sorry. For example, I said last week, Raheem Sterling is the most owned forward in the game. His ownership in the top 1,000 is 7%. Okay. Kasper Schmeichel, 39% ownership top 1,000. VVD 42%. TAA 33%. Pereira 45%. Siyunku 90%. Okay. Midfielders, De Bruyne 90%. Maddison 57%. Mason Mount still 50%. Jamie Vardy 87%. Remember how badly owned he was when we got him for that Newcastle fixture? It was about 2% or so.
It was as low as that.
Something ridiculous. Rashford 59%. And Harry Kane now creeps in at 34% ownership.
Okay.
That 11 would set you back 102.2 million. Essentially,
6 of those are in my team.
You can
Who would be in my team?
Anybody can have 10 of them. It only takes one change, doesn't it, to go? I mean, literally, even just like Siyunku to burn near enough.
Yeah.
It would have to be Pereira or one of the others. But any of them or Mount down to like Cantwell. And that whole template becomes affordable, and that's why the game's quite templatey at the moment. So to answer your man's question, it was a man, wasn't it?
It was James.
That's
A-Wood,
good.
Yeah.
Nice name, that. I looked at players with under 10% ownership in the top 1,000. So there's a few names who I'm not going to put in this team, but I thought were worth mentioning. Their ownership's more than that. Obviously, Dele Alli. Dele Alli's in the template as well, already 33% in the top 1,000. Sadio Mane, 30%, just behind Kane, top 1,000. Richarlison and Grealish are both around about 15% ownership in the top 1,000. But I thought I'd pick out a team of names who had under 10% ownership currently in the top 1,000.
That you would still consider and buy, potentially.
And this team comes to 99.8.
Okay.
So I think these are players you can consider. Gator in goal, 6.4. A lot of will already be on. It's 8% owned in the top 1,000 at the moment. Fixture's still okay for a little while period. It's absolutely fine. I've still got Wan-Bissaka, 8.6 million, 5% owned in the top 1,000, 16% owned overall, by the way. He's probably the least keen I am of these players that I've selected. Matt Doherty, 8.5, 3% owned is very much an FPL pick if you want, because there's not going to be tiering bonus other than goals and assists, but he does pop up with them. Serge Aurier is popular, I think, at the moment, particularly for tackle bonus. I'm sure he's had, since Mourinho took over, more tackles than any other player in the league.
Okay.
4% owned at the moment. Here's one that would be gut-wrenching for a lot of people. Tomori, 6.4 million, 5% owned in the top 1,000. I mean, look, if he's going to play every week, he's an absolutely brilliant asset. Antonio Rudiger's ownership is naturally at the moment 0%. Now, is it worth paying that 2.5 million more for the lock, as I would call it? The answer is surely no, isn't it?
No.
But we've seen Chelsea in defensive areas, they're coming up really well in sort of the passing numbers and that. The problem is clean sheets. But it does look a little bit more stable now Rudiger's back. Now, we've got no idea if it's going to stay as a back three or go back to a back four, do we?
I think Tomori over Rudiger.
I think Tomori's a better player than Zuma, but I think this is more. That's more one really. I don't think you can go back. I think that's the point. For those who sold Tomori and rightly sold Tomori, and look, I was trying to buy him myself for those midweek fixtures in early December, and I was lucky as that. I knew that he wasn't playing, and then obviously didn't pull the trigger. I don't think you can go back until you've got some solid concrete evidence, and I think that's probably overhaul now. So midfielders, Paul Pogba, 11 million, 0.1% ownership in the top 1,000. It's still owned by 4% overall.
Andy, let's talk FPL if you're listening, because he's every other tweet at the moment that he puts out has got kind of his eyes on Paul Pogba at the moment. Don't do it, mate. Don't do it.
11 million. That's monstrously expensive.
Sure, but if you look at historically, he's the top scoring midfielder in this game, right?
Yeah.
Maybe alongside KDB. So, and that's because Tiers, he passes, he's all action. He's always tackling, shooting, passing, the lot.
Well, I think he was half the tier for passing in about 25 minutes on Sunday at Watford. Now, admittedly, Watford was sitting off and just defending.
Yeah,
And
but he's an all action player. It doesn't surprise me that if he's not tackling, he's passing. If he's not passing, he's shooting.
he's always
doing
had
everything.
shots as well. Yeah. So, I mean, big player. That's big cojones to pull that money in, though, isn't it?
Pogba plays week in, week out, and he doesn't get sold in January. I look at him.
Yeah, possibly. I don't think you can go now yet, can you?
No, you can't go now.
No. Okay.
Overhaul time. The
The problem is that's shifting the funds again. I think there's still a chance he'll leave in January. See Solskjaer's comments.
That's why overhaul time, mate.
He's building a team for next season already, basically writing it off. Really bizarre. I've put Antonio in here on the list, mate. 8.2 million.
I don't mind that.
0.6% owned. I think if you didn't have the blank, there would have been some interest.
Yeah.
And I think there might still be some more interest coming into that Friday night fixture.
Maybe.
Budget option, Todd Cantwell, 5.8 million, 4% owned. I think we have to look at it now and go, okay, yeah, there might be the odd shots here in there, but his value, like, he's got 6 or 7 Premier League goals now. It's all right. You can't argue with it. He's the top in there, sort of like under 7 million. Lundstrom 6 million, by the way. It's not a joke. He's like in the top 10 scoring midfielders.
From an ownership point of view.
What?
That he's the top.
No. John Lundstrom's ownership in this game is.
No, sorry. From the midfielders under 7 million. I'm just looking here. The top scoring player is Traore.
Oh, okay, yeah. Imanol. I didn't include him in this because his ownership's over 10 now.
Yeah, 10.8. But he's not far behind. Lundstrom is obviously next, yeah.
Now take this for a front three. Mohamed Salah, 12.2 million. 6% owned. It's unbelievable, isn't it? In the top 1,000. 27% owned him overall.
But just remember that here he's 12.2 when Mane's 11.5.
Well, that's the problem.
In the FPL, they're the same.
Can you justify playing the extra? Then there's the fear of covering Mane. And Raheem Sterling, as I mentioned previously, 11.6, 7% owned. Sergio Aguero, 0.4% ownership, 12.1 million. The thing is, right, if he's playing Friday night, some people won't think twice, mate.
Get him in.
Won't think twice. What a differential to captain him. I think there would even be a temptation for some, if he doesn't play at Wolves, to pull the trigger on Sunday against Sheffield United and hope.
Yeah.
I think some would, I mean, differential-wise, if you get him in and he does what he's capable of, brilliant. So some players potentially to consider, but the problem is, I feel like until overhaul time, it's probably very much about staying with the template. And then for me, the advantage I've got is the transfers further down the line and when that template's going to start breaking. Because right now, I don't see where it does. The only thing that's broke it at all recently is the attacking areas for Spurs. People are going to go back off that and they're going to go back to their naturals if they've gone off, like your Rashfords, Vardy, Mane, Salah, etc.
Yeah. So what we will do for everybody who's on the live stream and listening to the audio is find James on Twitter at Planet FPL Pod. Tweet that out, mate, will you?
What's that?
The differential ownership numbers on Sky.
Because by the time I tweet them out, they'll probably change, wouldn't they?
Yeah, a little bit, but not massively. And otherwise, they're going to need pen and paper to write everything down. So, it's worth tweeting them out. Or you want to keep them secret?
Secret.
Oh, James wants to keep them secret.
That's not a secret, is it? You can find the ownership on the game.
Yeah, it's just then having to make a list of them all. Come on, little monkey.
Say hello to YouTube.
What's up?
He's all loud now, so
yeah. As soon as
now he knows it's live. Yeah, he's all shy.
No talking, mate. Right, okay. We have another question coming in from Lee Williams, but it's the same as the Sun question earlier. Should he go with a striker or a defender from Liverpool? Well, depends on your team structure.
Yeah.
Right. Tartan Espanol says, which midfielders in the sort of 7 to 8 million bracket, but let's just call it the 7 to 8 million bracket rather than the sort of 7 to 8 million bracket, are worth looking in the upcoming fixtures. He's had Mount and James for a while, and returns are drying up slightly. And I'm in the same boat with Mason Mount. His returns have dried up, but his performances have been okay. I feel like it's only a matter of time with Mason Mount. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree.
I can't justify selling him in this game.
No, he stays for me.
And also his value is so good. Are there any others? Sheffield United?
Nah. You know, I've got dirt fixtures, mate. I know they're a good side. I've said it so many times on the FPL pods. But no, the fixtures are shocking, mate. Madison's a bit above, would be tempting, but obviously not for Boxing Day.
Tielemans is 8 million, isn't he?
You ain't going back to that now, mate.
Grealish?
Grealish, I don't mind 7.9. I think that's a natural move for McGinn owners.
The only thing is, it doesn't really help you with any captaincy coverage. But I suppose your £8 million players are not the ones that you want for captaincy coverage anyway. Just to look at these 8 million or less top point scorers. You've got Grealish and McGinn. McGinn's out now for 3 months. Traore, maybe. Mason Mount, Tielemans, Lundstrom. Then you get into Daniel James, who he already owns. Then you're into James Ward-Prowse. Then Harry Wilson. Then Campbell. Then Fleck. They're just not interesting at all.
Nobody else is under consideration once you go lower than that.
Yeah.
I would be tempted to actually advise to look at Campbell.
Yeah.
I think if I didn't have
You've owned him this season earlier, right?
In this?
I think I did as well.
No, I'm still sitting on my bench most weeks in FPL. But no, not in this game. But I think actually now, if I'd have thought about it more and didn't feel like I'm not saying going for Ali was the wrong decision for me, but I think if I'd have thought about it more and Spurs weren't playing Sunday, say I was going to go and make the move now for Boxing Day, which will be the case for some, I think I would have gone Campbell, you know.
Yeah.
And just take him as my, do you know what? Because that midfield area is so pony. Just have all the money at the back and up front, KDB, Campbell, whatever else I can fit in midfield and get on with it. So actually, I'd probably advise go Campbell. And yeah, there's going to be some ones in there on that. And he's probably not going to pick up Tyrion, but all right, Burns getting tackles and that at the moment. I know Gilbert is as well.
If it means your front line is Mane, Aguero, and Kane,
cheap.
do you know what I mean? You just go for it, isn't it?
So cheap. So actually, yes, my advice would be McGinn, Campbell, and spread your dollars.
McGinn or Grealish?
No, McGinn to Campbell.
McGinn to Campbell.
Yeah, and then it's easy to fire back in the Liverpool guys as well. Then you'll find.
Yeah, because you've got the budget.
Yeah.
Hornet FPL at Hornet FPL on Twitter if you want to follow our friend there. With a second overhaul on the horizon, just remind everybody the game week of the second overhaul. It's the last week of January, first week of February, right?
Yeah, it's after the midweek fixtures in mid-January, 22nd or whatever.
Something like that.
From the Friday it goes live, or the experienced guys will tell me no, straight away the next day or something. Yeah. I don't know. What
is your cut-off where you don't replace injured or suspended players who are not playing for that? 3 match days out?
Once you've got the team you're happy with. What's that?
No, but it's like, I think what he's saying is that if you've got a player in your team who's injured, but the overhaul is two weeks away, would you then just ride it out to waste the transfer?
If you've got 2 games, get someone in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think literally the week before is when it's not worth burning any more transfers?
Right? If Mane gets injured and he's going to miss that midweek fixture, and don't forget those midweek fixtures, like I said, you've got Spurs, Norwich, United are at home, Leicester have a good home fixture as well on, say, that Wednesday night. So if you're going to fire someone in that's going to be your captain as well, get it done.
I suppose it also matters how many transfers.
It's circumstantial. It's circumstantial. I think if it's your goalkeeper and that, I don't know, maybe wouldn't. But you know, if George Baldock gets injured, he's going to miss it. Yeah. You know, I probably wouldn't waste the transfer for what I could buy in on value for that. No, but I think like in certain attacking areas, those midweek fixtures, particularly that Wednesday night, you're looking at a big Rashford v Vardy v Kane debate for those midweek fixtures in late January.
And Unz at Unzi 1972, and hope you're good. I'm sure Pulisic will start on Boxing Day, but my patience is wearing thin. Can I swap him for Pogba? I've only got 13 transfers left. That doesn't make any sense in my mind to go to Pogba. Too risky. We don't know if he's going to start. Pulisic, whilst he hasn't been returning, his numbers have been okay. It's just a matter of time with Pulisic, in my opinion.
I'm not sure it is a matter of time, but I'd still hold him. You're gonna fire him out before they play Southampton at home, and you're taking a gamble on Pogba. Although, yeah, we've said he'll probably come straight back in and play twice, but Willie, nah, you've got to keep Pulisic for this game week.
Yeah,
take the advantage further down the line. Give him a chance.
We've got Kieran O'Keefe at Serenity_later. I could do a bit of Serenity in my life. Could you do with some Serenity in your life?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could. Do you know what Serenity means?
No.
Peace and quiet. Peace and quiet, mate. Having more experience of the game now, do you have in mind the certain number of points that a transfer is roughly worth when used? I've heard people say 10 to 15 is good. I don't think of it like that because when I rarely make hop on, hop off transfers. So take I know this is an FPL example, but take Zaha, for example. You were looking at it over a 7 or 8 week period rather than a 1 or 2 week period because it wasn't a hop on, hop off. I rarely do hop on, hop off. So I don't really feel like you do much either. So I don't really have a number on it.
Probably doing it a lot more in April. Right, that's certain.
Yeah, I don't really have an answer for that.
It depends, right? So when you make a transfer, like you can't use every example as like, would I want out of this 10 points? Are you judging it on one game? Like if it's going in for just one game, then you're presumably doing it for captaincy, and that in which point, yeah, of course you're going to want 10 plus points. So I think every circumstance is different. I think you're right there to use the analysis I did there on Zaha and say,
yeah,
okay, what do I want from this over X? It doesn't have to be 10 points in 1 week. I think where a lot of people use that here is like, okay, that's the immediate difference I'm getting on the extra game, which I understand that. But I think with an FPL head, I'm looking more at what do I want while I'm going to own this player. That's how I would tend to look at it. I understand the 10 to 15 points, as I said, because you're looking at the immediate gain and you feel like with those transfers, you feel like you want the immediate gain. So take me going Dele Alli on Sunday. All right, there's no gain on that. And actually, McGinn was crippled, right? So well, technically wasn't gaining fixtures anyway, but technically I was perhaps gaining a fixture on my opponents who were just going Kane and Son, for example, or one or the other rather. But I didn't get him in for the Chelsea game, and that was actually the case for Son as well, because I still captained Rashford, right?
True.
I was getting him in for the period of forthcoming 4 games, looking to escape before Liverpool at home, and now I'm going to end up on only just one Spurs asset. I'll probably I won't be like worried about firing them back out before that fixture. I think it's on the 11th of Jan.
Ifs and buts might be maybes. I don't like looking back as that much as well because I reckon psychologically it's the worst part. It's the worst part of FPL, Sky FF, the lot of it. You're looking back, and that's what annoys you and depresses what could have been and what might have been. I think once you've made the decision, you will naturally compare it, but don't dwell on that. I think just kind of move on, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, agreed.
We've got a long question here to end with. I say long, it might not be that long, but let's try it. This is coming in from What the FP Hell. Now that we're halfway through the season, I'm interested to know if you could merge Sky and FPL, which rules would you take from each and why? Particularly thinking about, captaincy. Do you prefer one captain a week or 2?
I mean, I prefer this with Sky because it's
you can recover.
The greater challenge is getting the 1 out of 10 games, right?
Much harder.
Whereas quite often here it's just about your planning and you're choosing from. I mean, to be honest, Boxing Day is the biggest you're going to have to choose is from 9 games, and other than the final game of the season. So quite often you've got choices where you're actually choosing a player from a team, basically, be it
and even
Mane versus Salah, for example.
The psychological side of it, like if you've got 2 or 3 captains over a weekend, if 1 or 2 out of 3 do okay, you don't feel as annoyed. I think it
keeps you going through the weekend rather than your guys blanked at 12:30 on the Saturday. Like Harry Kane probably will on Boxing Day, so you know.
No, he won't. He's banging in a hat trick.
I hope so.
So I like the Sky thing. Transfers, so limited number of transfers here.
It's going to be a really shy answer, but the 2 different games and have 2 different principles. So I don't really look at it as a best off. The question earlier, which was asking which game I'm better suited to, I now believe it is this one. I'm never winning FPL.
On the transfers,
I might win this one next year.
the transfers one, I feel like I'm not going to know that until the end of the season, because we've held back a lot more transfers than a lot of people, in my opinion. And I won't know if I held back too many until the end of the season when it all kind of plays out.
Yeah.
Price changes, probably. I don't think you can pick one or the other here, because with Sky, it is about longer term planning, and you can't really longer term plan without fixed prices in the way that you need to. As FPL is much more reactionary.
I'll tell you why.
Keep both games as they are.
I'll tell you why I think this game suited me better as well is I've noticed, and I've obviously got to know some great people in the Sky community since playing the game and doing this. Is one of the reasons why I'll never win FPL is I'm not aggressive enough. I'm not aggressive enough in terms of taking point hits early on, increasing the value of my squad. I think to stand a chance of now finishing, I don't know, top 10k and further winning it, you have to be aggressive at the start, right away, straight away, no second thoughts game.
Bandwagons and stuff like that, you do have to jump on a little
Whereas, I think in this game, it does lean towards my strength in patience. Now, there are times early in the season, Paul highlighted Sky Playing FPL when he come on with us in November, and he highlighted that period where I spoke about the 3-in-1 for Aubameyang in August, and I didn't do it because I'd been set in my head to try and get through to the first overhaul without making any changes. And aggressive-wise, that let me down there, but I'm now in a position I'm going to be able to be a lot more aggressive than others. And I think one of the benefits is information. Once we head into March, April, there's not a lot more to learn. We're 28, 30 games in. I know what people are doing tactically, everything. And that's where I think my knowledge of the game, etc., can help me. I can't win this game this year, but I can get myself into a really good finish. And I know all the mistakes that I made really early this season, the gambles on people like Kurt Zuma, which I know, like, I won't go near those gambles next season.
Substitutes. So squad of 15 or squad of 11? My answer straightforward is squad of 11. Because there's been situations like the bench in FPL causes me and a lot of people so much pain when you see points left on it. Whereas I've had game weeks in Sky where I've had only 10 players for whatever reason, someone's been dropped, and I haven't even lost a second thought. It is what it is, and I just move on. So I'd rather have a 9 or 10 playing and just deal with it than be annoyed by the fact that Rico's third sub and bloody hauled 10 points, and I could have had him first sub or whatever. I'd rather not have a bench, in my opinion. 11's enough, and it is what it is.
I just don't have a preference.
Okay.
I've got myself into a mindset, and I think it's a good mindset to get into if you play both games quite seriously. He's like, that's one game, that's another. Don't be hating on the...
Try and merge them.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone is. I think it's just kind of seeing if they can learn from each other a little bit.
The genuine, honest answer for me is I don't have a preference. I really don't. I just, that's one game, that's another.
There are only two other criteria or sections that he's put in. One's bonus points and one's team quota. Team quota, I think FPL should open up to have as many players from a single team as you want, because the value stops you from going crazy on all Liverpool attack or whatever. But if you want to, go for it. It's your choice, right? I think it would be good to let people have as many players from one team.
You can have 11 Liverpool players then.
If you could afford it.
Of course you could in FPL. Think about your Trents at 7, Robertson 7. You're only going to spend the money on the front three, aren't you?
Yeah.
You can afford the whole team.
Yeah, but then if you're putting the likes of Milner and Keita...
If that's what you could do, you'd go Alisson, the back four, the three up front. You probably wouldn't go Firmino. You'd pick a different forward. So you'd have 6. And then you're picking the top midfield guys. Then you're putting in like... It's all affordable, mate.
You think you could afford Liverpool?
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see
mate.
that. I think you'd struggle. Well, you've got
Certainly,
Salah and
you could afford the whole team if you wanted to.
The 11.
I mean,
as
you wouldn't go near that midfield in FPL. Or, to be honest, Sky, Fabinho, maybe wasn't available.
I mean, look, even if there was no cap of 3 players, I don't think anyone would ever have more than 4 or 5 anyway. So I wouldn't change it.
I would.
you'd pick 11 Spurs players now that you
100% in FPL. If I could have Mane, Salah, Trent, Robbo,
you'd have 4.
and Alisson, I'd have them all, mate. Whichever centre half is playing with Van Dijk, I'd have as well, because I just feel like those clean sheets are coming.
Someone
I'd
needs
just
to
skip the midfield. I'd skip the midfield. I'd go like a Danny Ings with in the middle between Salah and Mane or something to save me a little bit budget now.
BPS or tier points?
Because the defenders are so much higher priced in this game.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say about this game, which is a little bit frustrating, and it's nobody's fault, is I think, particularly in the forward area, I'd like to see lower prices. Like Danny Ings has had a great breakout season, and in spite of that, like, you're not going to buy Danny Ings at 9 million in Sky.
No,
you're just not doing it. No matter what his run of form is, unless he's got a clear, obvious captaincy game, no one's doing it. What's the point in his price? Like, nobody's doing it. There might be some, but you know what I mean. You're just not. I'm going to buy Danny Ings at 9 and I buy Abraham 8.3. And I realise at the start of the season, I get that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of, particularly the forwards, just to tempt people away from those. You know my opinion. Robertson and TAA in FPL would have been 8 million for me this year. And make that choice a lot harder. Van Dijk would have been 7.5. Just to make that, okay, if you want these are the top guys, it's got to, I think for me, the game's got to be harder. And I can see everybody going, no, shut up, James. What are you talking about? No,
make it harder.
Make the premium players more expensive. Make the games harder. That template team that I said, every single one of us can get to 10 of those players in a couple. Probably most of us will own at least probably 5.
Do you know what?
Maybe 7 or 8 in a lot of cases.
What might be a step one towards that? Imagine if the game shut down before the second overhaul, everybody was repriced, and then they stayed the same price till the end of the season. But halfway through the season, everybody was repriced. I suppose it would cock it up because you might end up with a squad worth more than 100 million, which you can't do right now, can you? Because
no, they could lock everyone out of the game, couldn't they?
Yeah, well, then you have to repick your entire squad. Yeah.
It's an idea. I don't like that, by the way. I don't think.
I'm just thinking you don't have certain information at the start of the season, like Abraham doing what Abraham was doing.
It's one of the tests of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, but then the likes of Ings could drop in price to be more attractive, potentially. You know, you can mix it up. I'm just kind of thinking that using information that you've gained in the first half of the season to make the second half more attractive and move away from that template. But yeah, I think it's a bit clunky. I think the mechanics of making that work are too clunky.
I think, yeah, that's the frustration for me in the Sky, is that we're all picking from
much smaller pool.
30 players, really. You know, other than like Mavericks, and a lot of the Maverick ones are when, like, you know, the Palace Brighton and the captaincy comes up, and even then, you're talking 5-6 names from 2 teams that we wouldn't consider. A lot of people wouldn't have bothered. I'd want to make those guys a lot more like attractive. More pays price is good, 7.8, whatever it is. Abraham, no complaints. I think the solution to it is to make the more expensive players more expensive. And I'd particularly like to see that in FPL. I know they won't do it in FPLs because it's a global game and they want to keep people's interest all season long. And you only have to look at the ownership numbers in this game to see that there's obviously a massive drop-off in terms of live players in Sky as well. But then there is a prize money at the end as well. So if you don't want to turn up, fine. Like, the rest of us will have a shot. Someone, you know, there's a chance that, you know what I love about this game? Legitimate chance, genuinely, that someone listening to this could win it.
Yeah.
I love that.
And we're talking about you, Heskimo, so, you know, pull your socks up and
it's you,
represent Planet
it's
FPL.
you, blood, with all them transfers there.
Not yet.
What's your rank now?
21k, mate. Not even getting close.
It's not you.
Nah. And that's the Twitter questions. We've been going for an hour and 12. My missus is sick at home. I've got a chicken to cook tomorrow.
It's good.
Everybody on the live stream's disappeared by like 8 people now.
My missus is just sick of me.
Oh, yeah. Well, if I was married to a Spurs fan, I would be too.
Yeah, all right.
There we go. Cockerel for dinner tomorrow? turkey, mate, for you.
Yeah. We'll be having a bit of chirpy tomorrow.
Nice. If you are listening to the audio and it's Tuesday or even Wednesday, do jump on and check out our Christmas special podcast, which is a best of the decade, Premier League best of, that's pre-recorded and almost edited. I recommend the audio over the video because it's a little bit more fun. So do listen in on that. If you're cooking, if you're unwrapping presents, if everybody's gone crazy, or if it's about 5 p.m. and everyone's fallen asleep on the sofa and you're twiddling your thumbs, put your earphones in and listen to our Christmas special because it is really, really good fun. Good fun to record. I'm hoping it's as good fun.
It's one as well. The people's poll that will go out tomorrow. You know, if you don't want to listen to it tomorrow, it is one you can go back to in 2 weeks, 2 months, whenever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a laugh. It's a good. We think it's a good one for Christmas Day. There's so much shit on the telly.
Yeah.
Listen to that for an hour.
Cool. Boxing Day, you've got Amazon Prime. They've got every single game. So enjoy watching them. And we'll be back at you Friday morning with a full FPL podcast, running down what's happened on Boxing Day and getting ourselves geared up for the weekend fixtures. Other than that, Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho.
Have a good one. Chat for now.
Thanks, everyone. Cue music, search.
And that is that. To the guys left on the live stream on YouTube, thank you very much for joining us. I know it's Christmas Eve when everyone's got family stuff or last minute shopping or what else could they be doing on Christmas Eve? Watching a Christmas movie or something. Thank you.
I couldn't possibly say.
Adios.
Ciao.
I'm sure there's reruns of football on a channel somewhere.
Yeah.
So like Premier League Gold